Hey everyone, I'm Connor and welcome to my channel, The Closet. If it's your first time here on my channel, I like to talk about all things luxury. So if that's something you're into, I'd love it if you could hit the subscribe button and the bell button so you're notified when I bring out new videos. And if you're returning, welcome back to my channel. I don't know if my skin looks super red and blotchy. I have the worst frickin' rosacea, and in winter it goes absolutely psycho, and I feel like this whole side of my face looks like I've had an anaphylactic shock. So if it does look like that, there's nothing I can do about it. But that's why. Today's video. Why are we here again? I think it's like it's 2020 again, and cassette once again in the headlines. So basically an article has come out this morning from The Age, which is a Victorian newspaper, which has alleged cassette has been selling fakes again. Okay, so basically some customers of the cassette, store, which is a Australian store. They have a bricks and mortar store in Sydney in the Rocks. They also have a website which ships internationally, so obviously it's not exclusive to Australia. But they have been in the press for people, getting fakes from them, okay? You might know Cassette as well, because Mel in Melbourne flogs them, because she's in a little collaboration with them, but we'll get into that later. But basically this article goes over some women who have purchased bags that once they have arrived, they have either had obvious signs of counterfeitness. Is that a word? Counterfeitness? Being counterfeit. They've had odors or like a plasticky smell that isn't consistent with what an authentic bag should be in their opinion. God, there's going to be a lot of clauses in this. I don't want to get sued. And they've had them authenticated through multiple authentication companies, which have all come back as deeming the bags fake. Ugh. Let's get into it, kids. So if you are somebody in the luxury space, you're in the Facebook groups, you've been reading the blogs, you listen to stuff, watch stuff on YouTube, Instagram, you're probably aware of these alleged things about cassette. And it shouldn't really come as a surprise with you, especially back a few years now when the same sort of articles had surfaced, and then Mel in Melbourne, who is in a collaboration with them, brand ambassador, whatever you want to call it, she did a kind of in response video to that. And in 2021, I also did a video that talked about this. I can't remember what it was about. Like, I remember I talked about it, but I don't know what the premise of the video was. I think it was like why I don't watch some Australian luxury YouTubers, and obviously case in point. So I'll link that video down below if you haven't already seen it, but this continues off from that and why this is still happening and the ins and outs, okay? So basically, from this article, which I will also link down below, the people who have purchased bags which have ultimately been authenticated as fake have gotten refunded by Cassette, but they have not refunded on the grounds that they believe the bag is inauthentic, and they're refunding because of that. They're refunding due to goodwill gesture or in accordance with their current returns policy, which does have a change of mind returns refund policy. So they're not refunding saying, yeah, we've messed up, here's a refund. They're doing it goodwill gesture with no omission of guilt for the bag being fake. Now, you probably wonder, how does this business stay in business if these sorts of things keep happening? And that's a great question. In the article, it does mention that the ACCC, which if you're not in Australia or if you're just not familiar with it in general, ACCC is basically the governing body that looks at how business operate, making sure that they're not deceptive, misleading, they're not selling products that aren't doing what they're supposed to do, they're not falsely advertising, and overall they're not decepting consumers. Australia does have really strict consumer laws. We have, there's millions of examples of when businesses have been severely fined for misconduct, and they are constantly watched, which is a great thing. I'm not sure how it rolls downtown in other countries. Maybe it's not as strict, maybe it's more strict, I'm not sure. But in Australia, the ACCC, they're watching, okay? They're watching. But the article states that for a business or a company to be on the ACCC's watch list, which is where they probably get a bit more serious about investigating businesses, is when they have received more or equal to 10 formal complaints from consumers. That has not happened yet. So they haven't gotten 10 formal complaints or more complaints about Cossette, hence why they're, I guess, still operating, or I guess they're still doing the kind of behavior that they've been alleged to be doing, okay? Now, I can probably hypothesize as to why they probably haven't got the 10 formal complaints. Reason one would, I'd speculate that people have either received the bag, watched content creators promote the brand, so they've just assumed that whatever they've bought is authentic, no worries, no problems, no qualms, they're ready to go. B, they have purchased a bag, it's come back, like they've received the bag, they've realized something's up, they've had it authenticated and it's come back inauthentic, and then they've contacted Cossette and they've done, like the article says, refunded as a goodwill gesture, no omission to guilt, yada yada yada. And three, people don't know the kind of rights, they don't know what to do in the event that such a thing happens, they don't know who to report it to, they don't know the process, it's all too hard, so they don't do it. So with the first example, they're not going to complain obviously because they don't think anything's wrong. With the second example, they've been remedied and the situation's rectified, so they don't believe like, you know, I'm going to make a complaint because I've got what I want. And then C, you know, the options, it's too hard, they don't know what to do, yada yada yada. Basically, for businesses that do alleged misconduct, if people aren't reporting them, they're never going to get watched and they're obviously going to continue doing what they've been doing. So I think if you have been in a position like this where you have purchased goods of any sort and they're not as described, they're fake, whatever, you should always report it regardless of what the business has done for you as an outcome, because otherwise it's just going to happen to other people, and the people in option A who are relying on influencers and content creators, their authenticity as a creator, to just blindly go and purchase things from businesses, like the same thing's going to keep happening and it's not good. Now, I have never personally purchased from Cossette. You know, I'll leave it at that, but I obviously cannot say whether or not they do sell fake items or not. All I can really say for certainty is basically I have seen people online say that they have purchased goods from Cossette, they've had them authenticated through multiple authentication companies and it's come back fake. They've then sent it back to Cossette and been refunded. I've probably read at least 50 of those instances happening, and obviously this article solidifies that sort of conduct that does happen. But no, I cannot say for 100% fact that they do this, and I'm only referring to the article and socially commentating on what's going on. So keep that in mind and don't sue me. But I get messages all of the time, and not just me specifically, like a lot of YouTubers or other content creators, regardless of the size of the channel, we all get people message us saying, hey, I've seen this on Vestiaire, or I've seen this on Farfetch or whatnot. Is this authentic? Have you bought from them before? Yada, yada, yada. So we all kind of get messages from that, but I do get a lot of messages about people wanting to purchase from Cossette, and they always say, I'm looking at buying this item from Cossette, Mel in Melbourne talks about them, is it legit? Is it good to go? I generally say back to that, do your own research. And then it goes into the kind of conversation, well, why? Like, why is she talking about it? Yada, yada, yada. Look, I don't have obviously anything personal against Mel in Melbourne. She's a full-time content creator. She has to put out content. It's a part of her job. It's how she makes a living. And for the most part, I think she's great. She does a great job doing what she does. But for me personally, I don't watch YouTubers or content creators or anything that talk about stuff that they don't buy themselves or they don't use. As an example, Mel does videos that are like best luxury bags under $1,000, but like she doesn't carry bags under $1,000. She doesn't buy that. So to me, if you're somebody that just wants to watch content because you don't care about whether or not the person presenting it does it or not, you just want the kind of facts about the matter, then that's fine, that works for you. If you're somebody who wants to watch a content creator because you think, oh wow, this person buys these items and this person wears these things, so I feel reassured that, you know, the items are in style or they're a good buy or whatnot, but that person doesn't actually do it, like that's weird to me. I don't find that authentic. So that's my opinion on that. But then obviously Mel has collaborated with Cassette. Then the whole thing happened a few years ago. She did this big kind of video saying, I mean, it was a bit of a fence-sitting video. And then now she's still collaborating with them and she's in this partnership with them and the same thing keeps happening. I mean, I wouldn't want to touch them with a 20-foot pole. They could pay me $100,000 a year to promote them and I would be like, no, thanks. Like, there's no point having a luxury YouTuber channel with a huge global following where you are getting paid by a business that the conduct is questionable and there are always instances of people getting fake bags. I think it's way too close to home and I just wouldn't do it personally. And I don't know whether or not she's contractually obliged to stay with them. I mean, generally these kinds of contracts have clauses, whereas if one party does something that would wreck the reputation of one or the other, you can negate the contract. I don't know what kind of contract she's in. I don't know the ins and outs, but I mean, where there's smoke, there's fire, right? Thanks so much for watching, guys. I will link everything down below in the description box. So if you haven't read the article or whatnot, you want to read it all, it's down there. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments, and please give this video the thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Feel like a bloody detective. Feel like, what's his name? Sherlock Holmes. Yeah, so also I'd love it if you could subscribe to my channel if you have not already, and I hope to see you all very soon next time in my video, whatever that will be. All right, bye.